Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and your company that you work for? Along with that, if you can share your job story with the students.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, and always happy to get back to the JA community, as it's something that I've been involved with since I got to Miami and looking forward to for years to come. My name is Dan Rogan. I'm the CFO at Trivest Partners. I've been there for around 6.5 years, and my job basically is on a day-to-day basis, making sure that dollars flowing in and out, recording that business as it operates, and kind of taking a holistic view towards kind of how the business works, how the business operates on a daily basis, and making sure that the entire firm's in communication on the working functions of our business.
Wow, that's an interesting job. So do you, can you tell us a little bit about your educational background and, you know, what that looked like?
So I started my education graduating high school, then moving on to college, graduating from a 4-year college, working really hard throughout college. It's never easy. It's always balancing work and play. And something I learned early on was that if something comes easy to you when you're younger, it's usually a lot harder as you get older. So it's always a lot more work that comes into it, focus that comes into it, but always taking a challenge and doing the best you can with it. After graduating college, I then went on to work in New York City at a few different firms, and then in 2014 moved down here to Miami.
What was your degree in? What did you get your undergrad in?
Great question. So I originally thought my degree would be finance, and then I realized that I could also be a double major without actually spending any more money. So I actually became a finance and accounting major. The reason why I became an accounting major was because I realized pretty quickly that having graduated in 2008 and leading up to it, you know, finance is something that is obviously very important, but is also very volatile in terms of how the market is. Accounting is something that is always needed. Accounting is something that you can apply, whether it be at a hospital, whether it be at a financial institution, whether it be at a nonprofit, whether it be at a professional sports team, you name it. There's always a need for an accountant and someone to be able to do the books and records for each business.
Very true. Everyone always needs an accountant.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your first job that you ever had, and if there's something that you took away from that first job, either positive or negative?
So the first job I ever had was actually when I was 15 years old. I washed dishes for a catering company that did weddings and events in my hometown. And it was interesting because having not had a license, I had to ride my bicycle there. So I used to have to work until 1, 2 in the morning when a wedding finished and all the people had left, finished cleaning all the dishes, and then ride my bicycle home. The one thing I learned, even though I never ended up staying in that occupation, was I always left it all in the field. I was always taught, you come here, you work, you do the best you can, and when you're done, you say that I couldn't have done it any better, and when I come back, I'll do it all over again. So something that I've learned in my job now, almost 20 years ago, was leave it all in the field, come into your job, give it 100%. When you're done, go home, get your rest, reflect, enjoy your home life, and then know that when you get back to work, you just got to do it again. But leaving it all on the field, for lack of a better term, is kind of the method that was always instilled in me from a young age.
That's some great advice. Now I'd like for you to maybe explain to the students what a typical day is like in your job currently.
Sure. So the day in the life for me typically begins around 8:30 in the morning, come to the office, answer emails, questions, comments, concerns that we have from people inside the organization, outside the organization. We have a company of approaching 50 people now, and we have a couple hundred investors. So we have 50 employees, you have a couple hundred investors, you have, you know, as a private equity firm, we own upwards of 35, 40 businesses. There's a lot of people that you need to constantly be in communication with to make sure that things are running smoothly, that there are no issues, and that if there are issues, we can step in quickly and help. The rest of my morning is typically worked around dealing with people inside the firm, having meetings, meeting with consultants, vendors, service providers, etc. Always take a quick, 30-minute, 45-minute lunch, and then the afternoon is really more focused towards if I've answered emails and done what I need to do, focusing on a project or initiative I have for that day, that week, that month that I'd like to get done. I usually like to end my job around 6:30 or so, head home, see the kids, have dinner, and then from there, because it's 2020 and it's just the norm, you end up on your phone answering emails and the like. But I'd say the rewarding part about my job is that I'm always interacting with a variety of people. I'm always interacting with various people across the board, and I find it very fulfilling that my day is, although accountants typically have somewhat routine and quarterly things that they need to do, no day for me is ever the same.
Very, very nice. Okay, so this program is geared towards 8th grade students. And this is like a very pivotal time in their educational career path where next year they're going to have to, or this year starting actually, they're going to have to start thinking about what courses they're going to take in high school, and, you know, what their future is looking like, right? So I'd like you to go back and think like, you know, like if you were in 8th grade, and what kind of advice would you give yourself, being now that you have already, you know, fulfilled you're in a, you know, accounting career and whatnot. What would you tell your younger self? What kind of advice?
That's a great question. And as I look here to talk to those of you that are in the 8th grade, I think something that I would tell my younger self is try something different. Try something that may make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Try something that may not be easy. Or when I went to high school, I always wanted to join classes that all my friends were in. In high school, in junior year, I actually took an accounting class, and I always found it to be very interesting. And had I not taken that class, I don't know that I'd be here today. I thought it was a very interesting concept. I thought the idea was very unique. It teaches you things that you can apply in the real world. And I know a lot of students are sitting there saying, you know, am I really going to use all of these things in the real world? And the answer to that is yes in a lot of things, and some things no, of course not. But the reality is if you can find things that are a little different, that maybe something that are unique, you can find that skill set that maybe differentiates yourself from someone else and then put you in a position where you feel as though you have a strength or something that you enjoy that can make you succeed down the road.
That's some great advice. Is there anything specific that you'd like to share that you haven't shared already?
I think the one thing I would share that I maybe haven't shared already is that it's not always the easiest path to get to where you think you're going. You know, you always think you have things figured out, and even I'm 35 now, I don't even know where I'm going to be 10 years from now. I hope I'm going to be happy and progressing and growing, but you always need to enjoy the moment and take a step back and breathe and enjoy where you are and where you are headed. And in a world filled with uncertainty and non-communication around certain things, or just uneasy and unsure of where your next path is, I think if you're true to yourself and you apply yourself and you think in a positive manner, then I think the sky's the limit for everyone. And again, for me, when I was young, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I think there's a lot of pressure from people, you know, internally and externally to say, what do you want to do? Where are you going to go? How much money are you going to make? How are you going to pay for things? When are you going to buy a home? And although you're in 8th grade, those things will come sooner than you think. And I think if you take the time, take a step back, enjoy the moment, but also try something that maybe is different and something that you think may be beneficial to you down the road, I think it will provide dividends in the future.
Thank you. That's great advice, and I want to thank you again for taking the time to, you know, share your experience with the students. And thank you.
Anytime. Well,